Hi, welcome to Introduction to 7 Raise Rules. This is going to help you to understand some specific things that you can use in order to make more money at work. So I'm going to go through the 7 rules first, and then I'm going to dive into each one, say what the issue is, and give you some specific actions to take. Number 1 is it's business, it's not personal. Number 2, be confident that you deserve a raise. Number 3, build a business case. Number 4, work with your boss. Number 5, ask for what you want. Number 6, respond positively no matter what the answer. And number 7, no doesn't mean no forever. No means no for right now. So let me introduce myself. My name is Bram. I want to just tell you a little bit about who I am and how I can help you. So I'm the author of 10 books. The green book is called Increase Your Income, 7 Rules for Women Who Want to Make More Money at Work. That came out about 2 months ago. And I wrote that with my wonderful co-author, Jill Ferguson. And that's got very specific information that women can use not only to make more money at their current job, but also can use to negotiate a better starting salary at a new job. And those are the rules that we're going to talk about today. Those are the rules that I've spent years teaching other women. The book on the right, the purple one, is called A Salary Cinderella Story, or How to Make More Money Without a Fairy Godmother. What we did a couple of years ago is we took the 7 rules that I've been teaching women and we decided to make a fiction book out of it. So it's a parable, and it basically takes the 7 rules, and the main character is unhappy at work because she's not making enough money, and she uses the 7 rules to make more money and also to get a promotion. So I've been teaching this for many years. In addition, I am a business coach for men and women, and I teach them how to be more successful at work. I've also been a corporate trainer for many years, teaching leadership, management, communication, change management, all sorts of different areas. I have been in human resources for global tech companies for many years. And the reason I mention this is because of all the years I've spent in HR, I know what goes on behind the scenes in companies. I know what happens when people ask for raises. I know what happens when managers try to get raises for their employees. And I know how they need to work with human resources and their leaders in order to do that. So I can give you some behind the scenes information. I also spent almost 10 years working for a company called Women Unlimited, which is a wonderful group. And I was able to teach and coach high potential women from Fortune 1000 companies for all those years. And again, that gave me a lot of information. And all that information, all that background, I've used to help other people, and I want to use to help you. So let's jump in. So number 1, it's business, it's not personal. The fact is, we may let emotions get in our way, especially when we ask for something like a raise, which feels very, very personal. However, your boss expects you to approach negotiations as a business decision and will really appreciate a lack of emotion. So you might be nervous about it, but it's important that you figure out how do you take it and not show that nervousness and that emotion. And so what action do you take? I want you to think about getting a raise like any other business project you need to manage. So let's say you have a project you're working on and you need additional funding for it. So you would go to your boss and you would ask for additional funding, and you would have some good reasons for asking for additional funding, and then you would discuss it. That's how I want you to think about a raise. The project is that you want to increase your salary. And so you need to talk to your boss like it's any other project. And there are certain ways to do that. But I just want you to think about it, that it's like another project to help you take the emotion out of it. Number 2, I want you to feel confident that you deserve a raise. And in order to do that, you have to think about 3 things. How do you look confident? How do you sound confident? And how do you feel confident? Now, a lot of times people tell me, but Laura, I don't feel confident. And while it's great to feel confident, you might not start out that way. You may have to really work on looking confident first and sounding confident. And when you look and sound confident, people don't need to know that you're nervous underneath. All they need to see is that you look and sound confident, and they're going to start to treat you like you're confident. And by looking and sounding confident, you're going to start to feel confident. So again, understand, even if you don't feel confident, focusing on the looking and the sound is so important. So here are some actions. First of all, what you want to do is you want to be really prepared. So that's part of the 7 rules to really help you prepare to each step of the process, because asking for a raise might not just be one meeting. It might be a meeting and then another meeting and sometimes even another meeting to talk to your boss. So you need to be prepared for all of that. And again, the more prepared you are, the more confident you will be. The other thing I recommend is that you visualize yourself looking and sounding confident. I call these positive mind movies. Now you might say, oh, that sounds silly. But let me tell you what, most people are doing this in a negative way. So if I were to ask you right now, think about going into your boss's office and asking for a raise. You would probably have this mind movie going that you walk in and you sit down and you're looking nervous and your boss is, shaking his or her head and not smiling because they don't like what you're saying. So you already have that negative mind movie. So I want you to say stop or cancel. And I want you to imagine that you're the director of a positive mind movie. So you're standing outside and you are seeing with the camera, you walking into your boss's office or you walking into a conference room, whatever it is, with your boss. And I want you to see yourself looking confident and looking happy. And I want you to see your boss smiling and nodding as you're talking because your boss is agreeing with you. Now think about it. If that was in your mind, wouldn't it be easier for you to go into that meeting with your boss? Of course it would be. But if what's in your mind is, oh, I'm nervous, it's going to be terrible, it's going to be harder for you to go in and for you to feel confident. So work on those positive mind movies. As silly as that sounds, it really can help. Number 3, you need to build a business case. You can't just go in and say, I want more money because I need to get a new car. Absolutely not. You need to tell your boss why you need more money. You need to understand 3 C's. And the first one is your contribution. What is it about what you do that helps your department and helps the company? Again, why should they pay more money for you? The second one is your company culture. You need to understand how raises are given at your company. So a raise is given at a certain time of the year. Are raises just given on an annual basis? How are raises given? What is the process? How do people get raised? So it's really important that you talk to your boss or talk to human resources or talk to somebody to find out how raises are given in your company. And then finally, you want to have comparisons with similar jobs. So do the research. Go out. There are plenty of sites where you can compare different jobs. It's also important not just to compare the jobs, and if you can, compare the size of the company, but also to compare the location, because your boss might easily dismiss some numbers that you come back with if your boss says, oh no, that's for major cities, we're a smaller city or something like that. Now, even if you come with great comparisons, it doesn't mean your boss will agree, because a lot of times larger companies have internal comparisons, but I always suggest that you still try, and it can help you with your confidence because you look at other comparisons and you say, I am being paid less and I am doing more. I do deserve a raise, and that can help you in your conversation. So what do you need to do? Here's what I recommend. So when you're trying to remind your boss about your contribution, the way to do it is to start now. So start using what I call results summaries. So every week, or at least every 2 weeks, give your boss a quick email that's got a couple of bullet points about not only what you did, but what it meant for the team and the company. And you might say, oh, well, that's obvious. No, your boss is busy. Help your boss. And I also have people say, it feels like boasting. No, the fact is your boss is really busy. And you might meet with your boss every week, but the fact that you write it down makes it easier for your boss to look back on it or to know what's going on. In addition, it makes it easier for your boss, because your boss might have to report out in team meetings or have a meeting with his or her manager. And so if you're giving these results summaries, your boss clearly knows what's going on. And I remember I talked to somebody and he said, oh, I don't feel like boasting. Exactly this. He gave the results summary to his boss, and his boss loved them because he was able to go to his boss and say, look at what some of my team members are doing. So you use these results summaries and it shows your boss what your contribution is. And also, then you have a whole bunch of things that you can put together when it's raise time. So it's really, really helpful, because especially if you don't have raises for a year, it's hard to remember what happened a year ago unless you have that information. So make it easy for your boss. Second one I already mentioned, find out how raises are given. Talk to HR, talk to your boss, and find out the details for this year. Because also sometimes raises change in different years. So make sure that you know exactly what the process is for this year. You also want to do that comparison with other jobs. So that's the research online. And again, make sure you're as similar as possible when you're looking at these things. Number 4, work with your boss. Now, this is an interesting one, because a lot of times when I talk to people, they say they feel my boss is stopping me from getting this raise. But my point is, don't see your boss as the enemy. Don't see your boss as somebody that's getting in between you and a raise. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, your boss is probably your biggest supporter, your biggest ally. What they need to do, though, is they need to convince somebody in human resources, or they need to convince their boss, or they need to convince their peers that you deserve more money. So your boss isn't your enemy. Your boss is your ally. So think about your boss as your partner in this. So it's really important that you look at it that way. And if you look at your boss as your partner rather than the enemy, again, it's a lot easier to have this conversation. So actions, ask your boss, what do they need to support the raise request? So as you're having that discussion, again, you might say, listen, I know you probably have to talk to human resources, or, may get your boss involved. What can I do? What would be helpful? Is it some data that I can give you? Is it, customer comments? What would be most helpful? And so your boss will appreciate the fact that you're working with them. That harkens back to, again, what I said, which is number 1, it's business, it's not personal. And think about this as a project. Again, if you're working with your boss on a project, your boss is a partner on a project, and your boss says, I'm not sure, we have to think about it, or I need to get some more information, you would say to your boss, how can I help you? What information? That's exactly what you should do here. Work with your boss. Number 5, and for some people, this is a tough one. You got to ask. You have to ask for what you want, because if you don't ask, you won't get. And I just have to emphasize this. You have to clearly ask, not hint, not hope, not suggest. So I'll tell you right now, I before I worked with a woman, she said, well, this won't work because I already asked my boss for a raise and it didn't work out. I said, okay, well, tell me what happened. What did you say? She said, well, I went to my boss and I said, it would be really nice to make more money. And he laughed and he said, yes, it would. And so I had to point out to her, she didn't actually ask. She made a comment and she sort of suggested, and he took it as a joke that, yeah, wouldn't it be nice? We'd all like to make some more money. So especially for more direct people, you have to be really, really clear, and you have to ask in a way that they can really hear it. Because if they don't hear it, you're not going to get it. People aren't just going to hand you money. And again, you might say, yeah, but raise time comes up every 6 months, so I'm no going to get a raise. Yes, but you might get a 2% raise. Wouldn't you rather have a 5% raise? Yes, it might be a little uncomfortable for you to ask your boss, I want to get, or what can I do to get the best raise possible? Because I want to get the best raise possible. That might be uncomfortable, but I would much rather make more money and be a little uncomfortable for a few minutes. That's what you got to do. You've got to ask for what you want. So clearly ask. Stop and use silence. So a lot of times, because we're nervous, we ask and we just keep talking. And we say things like, okay, I know I asked for a raise, and I know it's not a good time, and I know the company is going through difficulties, and I know and I know my last project didn't go as we planned. Don't say any of that, because all you're doing is you're giving reasons why your manager can say no to you. Clearly ask for what you want, stop, and use silence. And it's interesting, I recently talked to somebody and she took some training, she took my training, and I said to her afterwards, so what worked? And so she went through some of it. And one of the things she specifically said is using silence, because she said, I'm the kind that would just keep talking. And she said, in the past, when I asked, I did exactly what you said. I said, I know it's not a good time and I know it probably blah, 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 blah. And she said, this time I just stopped and I just waited. And my boss said, oh, okay, well, let me see. And my boss asked me a couple of questions and my boss went back and did some research and I got the raise that I wanted. So stop and use silence. Number 6, respond positively no matter what the answer. So be prepared for yes, maybe, and no. I know we all want an immediate yes. And you know what? You might be surprised because when I coach people, sometimes they go through all of this, they're really, really prepared, and their boss says, yes, you know what? I've been thinking that you deserve a raise. And that's wonderful. And you need to make sure that you don't then say, oh, I didn't think I was going to get a raise, right? I didn't think it was a good time. Again, just stop and just say thank you. Now, you also need to be prepared for a maybe and need to be prepared for a no. So let's talk about if it's a maybe. Thank your boss and ask questions so you can understand what the real issue is. Now, when I say ask questions, you got to be careful because you need to ask questions in a curious and problem-solving way. Again, what I talked about before, that this is a project. So if you had a project and your boss said, well, maybe we can get funding, you wouldn't get upset, you wouldn't get emotional. You would, in a problem-solving way, say, okay, well, what's sort of standing in the way? Or can you help me to understand, what the situation is? So ask in an open, problem-solving way, not, well, what's the problem? So you have to be really careful about how you ask this. But the fact is, they may need some time to think about it, or they may need some time to talk to somebody else. Normally, when you ask, can I get a raise? The answer is not going to be an immediate yes. The answer is going to be, well, let me see. And so it's important that you recognize that. And getting back to how you can help, ask how you can help. Well, what information would be helpful? What can I give you? Is there somebody else that you're going to be talking about that I could give information to? So ask how you can help. Number 7, no doesn't mean no forever. It means no for right now. And this is another tough one because people don't want to hear no. But the fact is, even though it's not easy to hear no, you take the chance. But I always think, you know what, there's a chance they're going to say no, but there's a good chance that I'm going to get a maybe or a yes. And I would rather be uncomfortable for a few minutes and make more money than constantly tell myself, oh, I can't ask because it's no. It's not easy, but recognize it's okay. So deal with your emotions. So if your boss says no, it's okay for you to say, thank you very much, and stop the meeting and say, you know what, let me get back to you. I think I'm going to have some questions. But make sure you thank your boss for being clear with you and get more information to turn that no into a yes. Because the fact is, isn't it better to find out early on? And by the way, one of the things I haven't talked about is it's important to discuss this early on. So if you have conversations with your boss, let's say in July is the time that you get raises, you need to have this conversation a couple of months before. And if a couple of months before your boss says, no, you're not going to get a raise, that gives me a couple of months to get more information and to turn that no into a yes and find out and ask things like, well, help me to understand what's stopping you, or what would have to change in order for me to get a really great raise. And so you want some time to do that. So a no can be a stepping stone to a yes. So that's the 7 raise rules. It's business, it's not personal. Be confident that you deserve a raise, build a business case, work with your boss, ask for what you want, respond positively no matter what the answer, and recognize that no doesn't mean no forever. It means no for right now. So what's next? So if you want more information, register today for the How to Get a Raise at Work, 7 practical steps to make more money at work. You want to make sure that you get more information because, again, you've just gotten a taste of it, but this class is 9 recorded videos. Each of the raise rules has its own video. And while I explained to you very briefly, it goes into a lot more detail and a lot more information on what actions you need to take. In addition, one of the other videos talks about the differences between men and women at work, what research has shown, and how this can affect your raise request. And there's a whole section on raise stoppers, some things that could get in your way. So you can recognize, these are some things that can hold me back. And more importantly, here are actions I could take so it doesn't affect me. So If you have any questions, go ahead and send them to me, but I hope that you will go ahead and register for the Raise Rules class, so you'll really get a lot more in-depth information that you can use to make more money at work. Thank you so much for watching this, and go ask for a raise. Thank you. Bye.